I, 26 male, found out my fiance, 27 female, possibly gave a stripper at her baccalaureate party. I removed my previous post because I was so upset about it at the time that I understood it wasn't good to have a discussion about it. In an effort to cope, I created the post immediately after the person phoned, but it didn't work. My thoughts were becoming too dark, and I wanted to remove myself totally from the situation for my own protection. My head is back on straight after hunkering down at my parents' house and surrounding myself with people I could trust, and I'll fill in those who asked for an update. For anyone who missed my initial post, here's a brief refresher. My fiancé will be referred to as Jane. One of the bridesmaid's husbands called me and said he saw something that led him to believe Jane had relations with a stripper at her baccalaureate celebration. Any or passionate kisses outside of the partnership was a full deal breaker, as agreed upon when the relationship began. When I pushed for further information, he hinted at it in a vague manner. When I inquired whether he may have been wrong or misinterpreted a text or overheard discussion, he said he was certain. I knew the bridesmaid. I believed she was feeling bad and was using her husband as a proxy informant to protect my girlfriend from going after her when I questioned her. I was so distraught when I got off the phone with the man that I simply shut down. I just held my own non-bachelor party at home with some buddies, playing WOW Classic. So hearing this news after such a lovely day struck me really hard. My cousin, who has known Jane since childhood, attended the party, so I decided to try to relax and wait until the following day to ask her if she observed anything. At this point, I was still hoping it was a mistake or a cruel hoax. Jane didn't live with me, and she was intending to spend the night at her parents' house, so I knew she wouldn't come up unexpectedly. I'd essentially lay in bed all night, looking at the black ceiling while listening to the doors in Opeth and trying not to go insane. I didn't phone my cousin till noon the following day. I couldn't get through the first 5 times I phoned, and red alarms are going off like crazy now. So when I believed she was avoiding me, I walked over to my parents' house and dialed my father's workplace phone number. When she eventually answered the phone and realized it was me, the solemn tone in her generally annoyingly cheery 23-year-old party girl's voice told me everything I needed to know. Me, I heard last night, was a bit crazier than normal. Her, oh yeah. Me, I'm sure you know why I'm calling, don't you? Yes, she says, obviously holding back tears at this point. To cut a long and sobbing cousin tale short, I discovered Jane did indeed assist a stripper, along with numerous other ladies, some of whom are in LTR or married. They then decided to leave the home and drive inebriated to the strip club where Jane and a few other ladies had private dances. My cousin attempted to convince me that this didn't imply Jane didn't love me, and that it was just meaningless fun that had gotten out of hand. This irritated me. I didn't yell at her, but I told her that if that's what she believes, she has no concept what love is. At this moment, I notified my parents and brothers about what was going on, and my mother burst into tears. Another individual has been harmed as a result of this idiotic nonsense. I spent the remainder of the day at my parents' place lying in bed, looking at the ceiling, avoiding Jane's calls and messages. I know some people have more open relationships and can get beyond this, but I'm not one of them. I'm monogamous all the way through. I ultimately canceled everything and lost a large amount of money. I know it's a nasty move, but I ended my relationship with Jane by text message. I believed it would be better to just go away cleanly, without any real conflict. There was nothing to be gained by yelling, screaming, accusing, and calling her names. When individuals are trapped like this, they sometimes lash out, and I didn't want the lady I was about to marry to say nasty to me in some type of justification of her actions. I'm sad and feel deceived, and that type of nonsense isn't going to help. I simply texted her to let her know I was aware of what she'd done. I emphasized that I don't want vengeance, that I'm not interested in embarrassing her or her friends and spreading it around, but that it's a definite evidence that we're not fit for one another and that it's over with no chance of reconciliation. I waited till she answered once to ensure she received the text before blocking her on my phone and all social media. I delivered the stuff she had at my house to my cousin to return to her, and I haven't heard from her or her family since. I'm still feeling like hammered dog, but I'm getting better at not feeling like a black hole is sucking me inside out. This, however, was not like the breakups I had in high school and college. Something inside of me has broken this time, and it can't be healed as it used to. My body's confidence is now utterly gone. I kept wondering what it was about the stripper guy that made an apparently devoted lady betray and maybe toss away everything. Was it greater muscles, a better appearance, or a more outgoing personality. I'm not a supermodel, but I'm not bad either. I don't dress or behave like O or A, or am I just plain stupid? I was really certain about this person, but she cheated on me just before our wedding. This garbage takes a man's soul, grinds it up, consumes it, and spits it back out. Someone from her camp has finally contacted me. Her stepfather contacted me tonight to find out what was going on, and if there was anything I could do to help. I didn't offer him any specifics. I simply told him that Jane had crossed the line of forgiving conduct in our relationship, and there was no way to save it, and any time spent trying by either party was time lost that might have been spent moving on. When I stated it, I could see he knew what I meant and what had occurred. He's a really laid-back, old-school Hispanic man who apologized for things not working out and wished me luck. I wasn't particularly close to him, but I'll miss hanging out in his garage, shooting the about bikes and such. Second update, I just got off the phone with the bridesmaid's husband, who was the first to call and let me know what was going on. I don't know him, but I have a cordial relationship with his wife. His wife apparently grew really uncomfortable when several of the ladies began grabbing and rubbing the strippers and she left and went home. When he inquired why she came home early, she became agitated and spilled the beans. I'd assumed she'd do it to preserve her own marriage if word got out. Anyway, he took a moral decision and determined that the women's husbands and boyfriends had a right to know how their significant others were doing when they weren't around, and he forced his wife give him all of her contact information. Seriously, I owe so lot to this man. If I had discovered this a few years later, the termination of the relationship would have been even worse. His wife is still refusing to speak to me, but it doesn't matter anymore. I promised him that when things calmed down, I'd take him out and buy him every drink in the bar. I might not have known if this guy hadn't had the moral fortitude to make the call. Final update. It's been 10 days since I got the phone call that officially terminated our relationship. I'm nearly back to normal, albeit I'm still feeling a little blah. Fortunately, I had a few days of PTO to spend as I worked my way through this nonsense. I had previously planned a 2-week trip for the wedding this year, but now that it's been postponed, I'll simply spend it with my family and have a very long Christmas with them, with the exception of a few messages from Jane to my mother when things initially blew out and her mother phoning the following day after I spoke with Jane's dad. I haven't heard from their family since. Jane's mother attempted to mediate between us, but I shut that nonsense down and informed her it wasn't feasible. She may be a little forceful, but she recognized it wasn't a good idea to press this time. I eventually got to speak with the bridesmaid, whose husband had contacted me. She didn't provide any further information, and by the time I spoke with her, I didn't want to ask for any more. She just contacted me when she felt secure enough to wish me well and express her regret for what had occurred. She's a really sweet person, and I feel awful for her because she works with a lot of those ladies, and I'm not looking forward to how they'll treat her at work. I questioned her, and although none of them had any supervisory control over her, it still stinks to be shunned. I haven't heard anything from any of the other ladies, and my cousin has vanished. My mother handled the cancellation of all wedding invites since she was the one who helped send them all out. I asked her to just inform everyone that Jane and I had changed our minds about getting married and had chosen to postpone things for the time being. To be honest, I'm humiliated about what occurred and don't want to be known around town as the man whose ex-fiancée jerked off and probably banged a stripper days before their wedding. I'm sure it'll spread eventually, but if I let it fade like this, it'll be more of a wild rumor than definite reality for most people. I simply want to get out of here with as little controversy as possible and get on with my life. I've requested my mom to contact Jane's mother in order to get the engagement ring. Hopefully she won't cause me any problems since they were costly, and a friend of mine is prepared to purchase the ring set for the same price I spent for it for his wedding in a few months. I advised him he shouldn't tell his girlfriend where he obtained them in case she was concerned that my ex was wearing the ring when she was touching the joystick of a dancer. I blew thousands of dollars on deposits for the venue, DJ, florist, caterer, security, airline tickets, honeymoon suite, and so on. I'm trying to return some of my investment by selling the rings. Anyway, I've opted to avoid LTR for an indeterminate period of time. This incident has left me extremely wary of love, relationships, and all that nonsense. People have written me encouraging notes, stating that I would ultimately find the one. I'm trying not to be unduly gloomy, but with divorce rates and all the insane battles between men and women these days, I'm beginning to believe the odds of anybody doing that are decreasing with each passing year. And I'm not the kind of person that gets over something like this by rushing out and dating another lady to sport hump the next day. So I'm going to be single for the time being and concentrate on my interests and career. Anyway, thank you to everyone who encouraged me. If anybody else goes through anything horrible like this, I strongly advise them to remain with family or close friends with whom they have a wonderful connection. I can't emphasize enough how much this helped, particularly if you're a male. Men, unlike many women, don't really maintain a circle of support for things like this, and you might find yourself alone and sinking more into a negative place if you don't have good reinforcement around you. I was able to sleep on my childhood bed, in my childhood room, in my childhood house, surrounded by pleasant memories, and have my mother come in and bring me tea and food, as well as say beautiful encouraging words about how much she loved me and was proud of me. I was able to divert myself with my father and brothers. It was quite beneficial. Best wishes to everyone. Thanks.